Welcome to Dave and Dharm Demystify, a FinTech Futures podcast, helping make sense of the world of FinTech and digital finance. Please sit back and listen as the two Ds take a subject and discuss it to make it clearer and easier to understand.
Demystify.
Welcome to today's show, and the timing I don't think could be better because we have a guest from Binance to talk about, I'm guessing, crypto maybe. Not that there's much happening in the world of crypto, but anyway, we'd love to welcome you to the show, Stephanie. It's Stephanie Emile from Binance. Welcome. Do you want to just give us a brief introduction to yourself and tell us a bit about what you do?
Yes, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Stephanie Emile. I am the general manager of Binance in the UAE. Specifically, it's an entity called Binance FZE, which is really our regulated home within the UAE. And I would say that really is where crypto kind of meets local compliance. So my role as GM is, over the last couple of years, has been about building this entity to create a regulated home for users and for crypto. And now, once we got that license last year, it really is about building our presence in the region and showing users within the crypto space that, you can still have the same liquidity, the same innovation, but be fully licensed, local and regulated. So yeah, it's quite exciting to be part of it. I'm actually based out of Dubai. It's one of those things when people move to the UAE, it's Dubai or Abu Dhabi, and it really is based on your choice of lifestyle. But our entity is actually out of Dubai. We are regulated by a local regulator called VARA, which is a Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority. And they were specifically set up as a native crypto-only regulator within the UAE and specifically out of Dubai.
Fantastic. And Dharmesh and I, we met with the VARA people, which was kind of awesome. But is that one of the reasons that you sort of selected Dubai as a place to focus on in the Middle East?
Yeah, so I think when people think of Dubai, I think everywhere I go now, I was just actually in London a couple of weeks ago, and every time I sat down for a coffee somewhere, the word Dubai or the name Dubai would appear in conversation. I think it really comes from the fact that over the last maybe 10 years, maybe more, Dubai really has tried to be ahead of everything, right? And given that it's such a young country and the UAE as a whole, being ahead in certain industries wasn't always the easiest. I mean, it's one of the financial spaces compared to London, Singapore, and the likes, and it's done really well to get itself on the map. But when it came to crypto, they really were ahead. And for the likes of VARA, for example, to come forward and say, we're going to launch this regulator and the UAE as a whole, we're going to launch a regulator that's specific to crypto, that really set the stage for everyone else. And they took a risk that no one else globally would do. So naturally for us and for Binance, really, we are trying to stay ahead. We try and understand that regulation is coming. So it's better to work with it than to work against it. So naturally, Dubai was the obvious location for us to settle.
I mean, like Dave said, we have met the team from VARA, and I won't tell you what we think. I just want to get your opinion first. How is it working with the regulator?
So I'll tell you the truth. I haven't really worked with regulators before. So I think a lot of people say working with regulators isn't the funnest thing and they're very strict and the likes. I think everyone that I work with at VARA and any other regulators I've spoken to, they've been very welcoming. They've been very understanding. And I think this has been a learning opportunity for everyone, and everyone acknowledges that. It's not like, oh, we've come, we know exactly what the rules should be. We know exactly what we want from you. It's taken a few years for both sides, the VASPs, those applying for the licenses, and the regulator to get it right. So I think a lot of respect to VARA is the fact that it's an ever-changing, ever-evolving industry. From Binance specifically as well, everyone's constantly pushing out new products. Users are expecting us to be much more innovative. And how does the regulator keep up? So I really understand how difficult it is for regulators, and really respect the regulators that are trying to keep ahead and work close with the VASPs instead of trying to make it difficult for them. So
Totally agree that what we found was that they're very knowledgeable, but they don't sit back and say, we know it all. They're very open to opinion. And The other thing that we thought was really like compelling, especially if you've dealt like I have with the FCA in the UK, you don't get the innovation if you're just going to slap some rules in people's faces. And these guys were very open to listening and to learn, but they did fundamentally understand their job was to protect the consumers, right? So I just love the whole attitude and forward thinking behind VARA and also, I guess, the UAE, because given how small a demographic it actually is, to be a leader in anything or to be that forward thinking is quite tough, right?
Yeah, it honestly is. And I agree with everything you say. I think previously being in banking within the UK, I haven't dealt with the FCA directly, but I think you can see from when you compare to where VARA is now, and even with other regulators in the UAE, you can see that they want to welcome players within the crypto space. They want to say, come to the UAE, bring your home here, etc., and we'll work with you rather than try and make it difficult. And I think you see other traditional regulators within Europe, FCA in Europe, etc. They're not as fast to move into the crypto space, and they're looking to the likes of VARA and those within the Middle East and also across in Asia to set the standards. And I feel like they're following along from that. So
it is fascinating because I guess the UAE took a chance on crypto when there was a sort of crash a few years ago. And it's that the fact that they created the regulator shows a degree of vision. And I guess it plays into the opportunity that they see around kind of technology, well, almost full stop, in terms of AI, crypto, how all of these things are coming together. And it's fascinating because we've sort of seen new bills being passed in the US. It's sort of almost like they're really looking at that opportunity, which the rest of the world, I don't know, hasn't quite grasped, but the US is sort of leading the way on and just sort of driving forward and sort of saying, well, we can just stay slightly ahead of this, then we can really outcompete what's going on. And I guess then from Binance's point of view, being part of that would make a huge amount of sense.
Yeah. So I think a couple of things here. So someone asked me previously, how does the UAE stay ahead now that the US is in the game? So one, I think the UAE never really compares itself to others. So I think it really is, from a head down approach, it really is at the highest level. It's, this is our plan, this is what we want to do, and just work on that. And they keep reassessing. The one thing that I've really appreciated since I moved here, and let's just say I didn't move here lightly. When my husband said, we're moving to Dubai from London, I was like, oh no, back to the Middle East. So, and then I learned very quickly that I was a little ignorant to kind of say that, because I really do appreciate that the culture of try, if you fail, we learn, right? So, for example, the other day, the UAE put a tax against sugar, right? They are thinking way ahead when it comes to health. They're not afraid of upsetting a few companies. They're not afraid of upsetting people. They're like, we want to do right by our people. We want them to be healthier. So we're going to put that in place. And then they'll deal with the consequences later. And that was basically what happened when it came to virtual assets, when it came to crypto. So I think what you mentioned around, for example, the crash when FTX happened, right? I was here, and that was 6-7 months after VARA set up shop. And everyone was like, oh, what now? Because everyone's looking at us like, these guys have just gone and set up shop in the UAE. They want to get regulated. What does that actually mean for regulation? Will this make a difference? Is the crypto market ever going to recover from this? And what's happened to reputation? I think there was a standard, guys, let's get our heads down. Let's work together, the regulator, the VASPs, and let's stick to that vision of the UAE where it's like, just figure out what we can do, figure out the baseline and work your way up from there. And that's basically what happened. So I think that mentality it would be good for other countries to look to. But yeah, as you said, the US is now coming on, and it's great that the Genius Act has come through. So we're hoping that other countries start looking to the US, and that usually is the case, right? They wait for...
I'm not sure that they'll have much choice, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
I think this potentially creates sort of new territories for the US to really drive their economy forward on, doesn't it? So, yeah. I mean, I guess that's what Trump is banking on, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I think with the way everything else was going, this is very forward thinking from them. It's good that they did come on. I worked in the US between 2014 and 2017, and I remember I went to a blockchain hackathon at the time, and I was working at my old shop. And the conversations that we were having about blockchain in 2015 are the same kind of conversations we're still having now. So it's nice to see that. I think there's going to be a lot more progression coming through, especially from the institutional space now that we're seeing them come through. But that might actually start coming into fruition now that there is that regulation coming in, now that there is the trust and the backing of the government of the US and hopefully elsewhere, right? So I think we say, we're regulated in the UAE, but at the end of the day, what does regulation mean? If your users trust you, fine, that's great. But if the system doesn't trust you, if the banks are not trusting you, if other institutions are not trusting you and they don't trust in the regulation, or they're not allowed to work with you, then you're kind of at this little stalemate where you're unable to innovate, you're unable to build. So it's exciting to see, I think, over the next 6 months to a year, that space really open up and we see what regulation does for the space, to be honest.
Do you think that's the key thing to get broader adoption? Is it the regulators, or is there something else that's missing? Because when I look at kind of innovation in other industries, whether it's transport, when the first cars came out, there was no regulations about how you drive on the road, etc. And a few people died along the way, right? Nobody's died in crypto I know of. But it is just like any other industry that the regulators take time to catch up. But clearly there's something else, I think. And I'm just intrigued what you see as almost the barrier for kind of broader acceptance, adoptance. I see there's a shift from talking about crypto to talking about digital assets, to move away from the legacy, this is used by drug dealers, right?
Yeah. I mean, crypto versus digital assets are, I guess, different things in general, but I don't think it's regulation on its own, right? Regulation is just there to provide the foundation, but the space needs to get easier. It needs to become user-friendly. It needs to make more sense. The majority of the space to the normal person doesn't make any sense. The UIs are complicated. No one understands how to transfer assets with ease. So my dream is that wallets are going to be like 3 characters long, or something so simple that it's going to be really easy to transfer. And you're not going to have the likes of someone like you and I making the mistake, right? So I think that is the biggest gap. But take the UAE as an example, and it's not just VARA, it's everything that's been built here. They understand that, one, you need to provide the foundation. So that's why they put VARA in place and the other regulators are coming in. You've got the likes of RACDAO, which is welcoming projects and protocols to come in without the need to get licensed, and they're giving them IP protection and the likes. Then the tech guys come along with that. So there's a space where there's funding and there's technology, and you're able to put them all together. And with that, there's let's build to make something useful versus hopefully let's build to get our token to pump, and it doesn't really serve a purpose. So I think you're getting to that point right now where people might start building for a better use case. And that's the general fundamentals of crypto, or why it was created in the first place, was to make a change, right? It was to bring financial freedom to people, to make things a lot more secure, to make things a lot safer, and to give everyone that little bit of opportunity to be able to make money for themselves, right? I don't think we've seen that yet. What we've seen is a select few who understand the technology and are in this space that's actually quite scary for the general person to try and come into. We've seen those possibly benefiting from it, but we haven't seen your daughters, your sons, and the likes that might not be tech savvy coming into it. So that's going to start hopefully changing. We're going to start seeing, as stablecoins come in, and for example, you have the AED stablecoins, there's going to be government support where it's going to be easy to transact using a crypto or digital asset equivalent, but it doesn't fluctuate. It's stable, right? So you're going to start seeing, for everyday use, you're going to start making payments doing this. So I think that's where you're going to start seeing adoption. And then from there, as adoption slowly increases, the UIs get a little bit easier. Your grandmother might come on and start being able to use things. It just needs to get a lot easier. So I think the rest of this year and next year onwards, we'll start seeing that more coming into place.
I'm so pleased you said that, by the way. I was telling my son this, he was saying, what are you up to this morning? So I said, oh, I'm talking to Binance. So he was like, what's here, Binance? So I said, oh, they're a crypto firm. And he said, oh, I don't understand crypto, shrugged his shoulders. And I'd say you're totally right, is we're in this bubble where we all think everybody understands it too, but the majority of people have no idea. It's a scary world.
I was going to say, we expect them to get into it, but it's not the easiest thing to get into at all.
Everyone else is going to get into it because, I mean, I think, how many people invest in individual stocks and shares, understand derivatives, commodities, bonds, etc. Nobody understands all the instruments, and they've got this financial advisor in place, right? What we don't have is those financial advisors that kind of say, look, you should have a spread of assets, including some property and some stocks and shares, now some digital assets, right? So I think one of the gaps is the advisors need to play catch up. The second thing is that we shouldn't expect everybody to understand all of this stuff because nobody understands the whole investment space anyway. I have a fairly broad portfolio, but I'm probably covering about 30% of what's available. And so I think we may have for the people that are in it now, they've got probably higher expectations for broader adoptions, but I think that broader adoptions comes through with some of the things that's happening now, like the ETFs for Ethereum and Bitcoin and some of the other altcoins that are planned. That will make it more accessible, not only to individuals, but also to companies as well. And I think that's probably partly the answer. But I agree, dealing with like having to download your wallets, etc., crypto into your wallet and self-custody, I think that's another barrier because like so many people hear the story about the guy that lost his hard drive and millions of dollars of crypto in some waste heap in the UK. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody keeps all of their money at home either, right? So I think that's another barrier. It's like, this thing is going to be worth a lot. I don't necessarily want to be holding it in a floppy drive.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think what you said about advisors coming in. So I was thinking about it the other day, and all my years in finance, I still don't know what to invest in, right? I'm still very much like, oh, AI is on trend. Let's go for an AI ETF. And I think ETFs are amazing in order to help you diversify and just remove a little bit of the risk that you might be facing and if you do single stocks and the likes. But I can't say I worked in FX for 14 years. And I tried doing a bit of day trading in FX for about 2 weeks and I lost a lot of money. So I don't think everyone has a skill set to be able to trade. I don't think needing to understand the underlying crypto and the likes is a requirement by everyone. What you said about having advisors is 100% what we need to be seeing. We need to see a lot of the advisors now start stepping into the space. And if it works for their clients' risk appetite, that's amazing. But we also need to continue working to help more ETFs come into the space, whether they're just crypto-only ETFs or they're a mix of it, right? I'd like to see some ETFs that might be a mix of, BTC exposure with some stock as well. And that would be fascinating. At least that way you're not completely into, it's a mix. So again, I think this year you'll start seeing that. I think I spend a lot of my time prompting ChatGPT, and I was looking for an AI advisor the other day because I was like, do I buy now? Do I sell? I myself, don't know. You're as good as your understanding of the macroeconomics and what's happening. And at the same time, you're not sitting there reading every little X handle. So I think you'll start seeing a lot of AI generated advisors. Hopefully they come sooner than later. But that might be able to start helping people understand like how to enter this space as well. At Binance, we do focus on trying to make things as user-friendly as possible. We do focus on Binance Academy and trying to make it as bit-sized as possible and teach them the fundamentals of whether it's trading or just like the economy, understanding blockchain, and giving them something to work with. But in reality, I don't think you should invest in something that you don't understand. So
that's great to hear that you've got the academy. I'm just thinking, again, one of my other, I've got loads of children, by the way, so we won't go. One of my other children.
We're about each other. No, I'm just kidding.
One of my other children's training to be a financial advisor. And I'm sort of, as we're chatting, thinking, gosh, she really needs to start thinking about this asset class as part of her because in a few years she's going to be forced into doing it. So why not get ahead of the game? So I'll be telling her later to go and have a look at the Binance website and the Academy. And
yeah, there's good content on that. But one question, are you worried that she won't be able, because I wouldn't be worried, because I feel like learning about, for example, you've got blockchain, you've got crypto, you might get the RWAs coming in, real world assets coming in. Again, it really is about understanding the fundamentals. And I think what we're seeing within crypto right now are virtual assets. The way the market is going is really driven by the macroeconomics. And I think apart from a lot of the smaller alt tokens that basically drive themselves and what's happening on the project, it should be very easy for someone that understands financial fundamentals, if she's got background in financial advisory, if you understand what's happening in FX and equities and different asset classes, I think that in itself is a really good understanding to understand the basics of what happens in crypto. I don't think it's like completely so off, because I know people that understand crypto, but they know nothing about the rest of the world and economy and everything else that happens in financial markets. And it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, how do you not compare the two? Because the more you see now is there's this like cross between crypto, financial markets, and I don't think that's ever going to separate. I think it's just coming together.
totally, I agree with what you're saying, except for she's at the point where this would be a new thing for her to think about. And it's sort of, how do you get over the fear, uncertainty, and doubt of that first customer sat in front of you, you've got a relationship with, and you tell them that actually you should be looking at BTC or something like that as part of your portfolio. It's sort of that big jump, I guess. And it's having content like I can imagine in the Academy is a great way to kind of start taking you up that learning curve, because, you know, she's a diligent person who wants to be sure of what she's saying. She's not like a financial advisor from 20 years ago who was into the pump and dump of just fiat cash or that. She's a diligent person. So, but I get your point. I do get your point, and I can see that convergence happening. But I think we're still at a point where, you know, Binance could have an academy especially for financial advisors to kind of help them in terms of the hand-holding for their clients.
That's a good idea. I'll actually take that back and see what license it comes under, and then we can...
Well, no, I mean, actually, it is, you think about it, because it's going to happen, isn't it? So, yeah, why not have an academy for IFAs?
Yeah, no, I mean, we are about to launch a product that does give wealth managers and IFAs easy access to help their clients and the like. So that would be good to add on. But I think we just need to check in terms of the licensing and the like, what we're able to do. But thank you for that idea. That's
my pleasure.
I still do think that we're expecting more of people than what we expect out of ordinary investments, because although there are thousands, some people say a few million different types of crypto, there's a few million different companies out there, right? Yet we've still got a stock market, and you can invest in individual companies. One might be a bio, one might be a tech, one might be a brand, fashion, whatever, right? And we're not saying you need to understand the ins and outs of stocks, etc. We say, and of every single company, right? So you just need to know that you're buying into a market and prices can fluctuate. Some of it might be macro trends, some of it might be industry trends, etc. The same is true with crypto. And we're not saying that you need to be an expert in blockchain. I think we need to understand that there are different types of crypto, just like there are different industries. Some have like material projects that like they're a tech company in effect. And then some have purpose, like being able to exchange value across different countries super efficiently. So I think the people that are in the industry want it to grow fairly quickly, but I think it will happen more so by the regulations, B, by this kind of stuff that you're doing to educate people. And that includes not just the consumers, but the companies themselves. And I think we're starting to see a trend where companies themselves are moving parts of their treasury towards digital assets, which ratifies them. So I think it's an interesting time. I have one question which I've been dying to ask, because the rest of the world went with CBDCs or said they were looking into it. It looked like 100 out of 140 countries were all heading down the CBDC route. And then Trump comes along and says, not only does he say, well, look, we're going to ratify rules around stable coins, but we're also going to say that we're not going to issue a digital dollar. I mean, where do you think this is heading? Because as far as I know, I don't know of any other country that's been so outright against CBDCs and forthright with stablecoins. Where do you see this all heading?
For what?
It's a big question.
Yeah. By the way, first, can I just say, I think you should do your own little teach-ins. The way you described the comparison between the crypto space and traditional markets and stocks is great. And I think you should go into teaching.
Thank you.
It's going to sound
It sounds like they want you in the academy, Dharm.
Yeah.
So,
I was like, I need to learn how to dumb things down like this. This is good. So I think it was interesting to see Trump come out with that stance. That said, for general people, like, what is the difference between CBDCs and stablecoins? At the end of the day, if you've got these stablecoins that are backed by the dollar, why do you need the CBDCs if you've got the correct regulation and the correct government support for these stablecoins, right? So I think what we're seeing in the UAE is that you're getting both. So the central bank is pushing, they're working with 5 different issuers at the moment on AED stablecoin projects. And there's word that the CBDCs are coming as well. So they're going to be serving different purposes. AED stablecoin is going to be on the ground here. It's going to make transactions much easier. It's going to hopefully make the conversion between AED, USDT. You've got it, it's pegged. So cross-border remittances and the likes are going to be a lot easier as well. That said, when it comes to larger, bigger infrastructure plays between the central bank and another central bank, you might say that a CBDC might be more beneficial. It's not one particular issuer. It's not stuck to one type of project or the like. So there's different purposes for both. I think the way Trump is envisioning it is you've got USDT, you've got USDC, you've got USD1 as well now. So I think he's looking at supporting the growth of those versus changing the whole system, creating a new digital dollar. And I think for the purpose of maintaining the dollar's strength, that might be the right way to go. It's leveraging what currently is in existence and what he's actually seeing support for. Like, look at the strength of USDT now. So I think that was a smart decision from his perspective. And it was, let's not go against everything and actually work with what we've got. Yeah, let's see. I'm excited to see if that was the right decision, but... So I think we mentioned a few things here. When it comes to regulation, obviously, I think having a license is amazing. And it was a huge feat to be able to get the license. It's the biggest license that any VASP has globally. And it really is wanting to put that into use. The aim here is to show that we can create a regulated exchange, but maintain what Binance is globally. It is a huge powerhouse. It offers you the best liquidity, it offers some of the best UI to our users. And it really is about maintaining the products, keep innovating, and ensure that we're still able to service in exactly the same way. That said, we now need to be able to work with local banks, be able to offer AED stablecoins on and off ramp channels to make sure like we are opening up local space, for example. I'd like to see it become a lot easier for payments to be made. I'd like to see it become a lot easier for the likes of small corporate businesses to be able to do cross-border payments. The UAE is one of the top 5 remittance corridors in the world. It does about $50 billion worth a year. So I'd like to see some of that volume come into the virtual asset space. It shouldn't be that expensive as it is at the moment. So bring those prices in. So I think more real world use cases will start playing out. You mentioned, Dharmesh, corporate treasuries now investing with a regulated entity. That really puts us at the front and says, we're a regulated entity. We should be able to work with corporate entities looking to diversify their treasury. So once we do get banking rails, we should be able to offer that as well on the ground. And then from there, I think you really set the standards for, one, what a regulated entity in Dubai and the UAE can do, and then you can expand that further out. I think it's still early days in terms of the regulation, not in the UAE, but globally. And they're going to want to look at other entities and other regions to see what's possible and what's not. What we've done so far our users are still trading spot futures margin with leverage and the likes. And thanks to VARA for that, we are working with the central bank to ensure that we can start offering payment rails and everything. So once we have all of that in place, I think everyone's going to look at us and be like, okay, regulation didn't kill crypto. Regulation really is just there to support the users, provide the platform, and you can start leveraging that mentality and build it elsewhere. And hopefully that's going to impact the rest of the Middle East, because I'd like to see, for example, countries like Egypt, where I'm from, start jumping on that and getting involved in making it easier, less day-to-day inflation and worries, and more digital forward thinking, and hopefully better for the country.
I guess it's one of the things I was kind of interested in. Again, I'm really glad you mentioned Egypt, because one of the things that I think is obvious is if you're based in the UAE and you're connecting into Africa, you're also looking at a growing future, unlike the West, which is sort of declining in terms of populations and things. So is Africa an important part of Binance's future, do you think, Jess?
Yeah, I think we see a lot of our users are based in Africa. I don't have the stats, but we do have a presence in South Africa. We've got an entity there, but we do have a presence across Africa in general. And it's very similar to like Southeast Asia, where you see a lot of crypto adoption, but you need to be able to work with the local governments and the likes. And I think Binance has been very open and very forward about working with policymakers to ensure that we're able to have the right discussions to put a framework in place. So I think those conversations are happening now. And I'd like to see Africa, whenever you think of freedom of money, that makes me think of Africa, right? And I'd like to see the vision of anyone being able to have a bank account no matter where they are. Look at the likes of Kenya, it's very digital. I'd like to see more countries take that approach where everyone's got access to some form of digital banking. And if it means crypto opens that up, or Binance opens that up so that you're able to buy anything, then we've had impact.
I love that. I mean, you think about the impact of M-Pesa in Kenya was not just sort of in Kenya itself, reverberated around the world. And I really love that as a kind of something that you might be looking at. So sadly, we're sort of out of time. And once again, we could go on talking all day. And if you come back to Reading, we would love to have a drink at the Turk's Head, which you may.
I'm in the UK next week. I don't know. I'm there for a month. I might get my dad might be able to persuade me to come to Reading for a day, but
why not? We could have a cup of coffee at the Turk's Head pub, and so.
I wouldn't say no.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a really fantastic
Thanks,
conversation.
Dharmesh. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I will be reaching out for some Binance Academy tidbits from Dharmesh.
I'll connect you to my daughter as well. So maybe if you want to create something for financial planners, then, maybe.
Honestly, thank you. Thank you for that idea. I will take it back and I will be reaching out. Thank you.
Great stuff.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Dharmesh. Have a great one. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Dave and Dharm Demystify. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and tune in next time as we take another topic and demystify it.